Hello everyone, today we're taking a look at the Betafpv 95X version 2. It features a 2-board flight stack with an F405 flight controller and a 16 amp 32-bit ESC. VTX is the M02, which is power switchable from 25 milliwatts to 350 milliwatts. The motors are 1106 4500 kV, and on those motors are the Gemfan D63 tri-bladed props. There are several different receiver options. You can get it with an FrSky XM Plus, which I have, DSMX, or Futaba, and even Crossfire. The camera is the Caddx EOS 2 version 2, which is to be customized by Betafpv. It does come with a second set of props. It does come with the Beck and the case for a naked GoPro. Comes with a TPU mount for an Insta360 Go camera, a hex tool, a little tiny screwdriver, and a Betafpv support card. Motor post for motor post, I'm getting 99 millimeters. Carbon plates coming in at 2 3/4 millimeters. Carbon fiber your camera mounts to is 2 millimeters. Without the naked GoPro, I'm getting about 98.5 grams. With the naked GoPro, I'm getting about 124.5 grams. I flew it on the recommended size of 450 milliamp 4S battery. This one's from G&B, which brings our all-up weight to 176.5 grams. On the bottom, we also have another camera mount, so you can have forward and rear cameras. They did tape down the receiver antennas with my favorite tape. So I had this video all done. I had done my flying, I had done my video editing and recording, and I had the package all together. The video file was done, and I uploaded it to YouTube. And then I got that surprise, supremely calm day that I mentioned in the last video when I was kicked out of the house because the kids had Zoom meetings. Of course, that's for school, so that's important stuff. So this was one of the, I think I had 3 or 4 flights on this super calm day, which is, you know, I talk about wind all the time here. Wind is common here. Windless or low wind days is very uncommon, and I thought it was worth giving it another go. Now, I'm not using any sort of reel steady or any sort of GoPro stabilization on this. This is just mounted how the quad comes. I use the Betafpv mount, I use the Betafpv back, and I use the case from Betafpv, so it all fit fairly snugly. In future videos, I have one coming up that I'll be using the same Betafpv naked GoPro on a non-Betafpv quad, so it's something to keep in mind. I'm not going to switch things around just to match brands. I'm going to keep it together. And I should mention that I got my naked GoPro from goodventuredrones.com, and they are going out on the market and they're finding Hero 6s, which is what mine is, and they're actually selling a kit as a combo unit, and I was surprised to find you not only get a naked GoPro assembled with the back and the case, but you also get the screen that comes with it. You don't get a battery that comes with the Hero, but if you're looking for something that has the creation of a naked GoPro already done for you, I would definitely suggest checking out goodventuredrones.com. That's where I got mine. At the time I purchased mine, it came in around $280. It might have been $290. My total order when I placed that order, I bought some other things as well, was well over $300. They're here in the US, so for our international friends, you might want to check the shipping prices, and you might have other sources. Of course, you can do naked GoPros on your own. In this video, we will also be taking a look at the onboard camera, the Caddx camera that has been customized by Betafpv. We are going to have a total flight time on the recommended battery of 4S 450 milliamp of 3 minutes and 16 seconds. So you get to see what the GoPro footage looks like in this super calm day and a full flight, and then we'll take a sample of the onboard camera as well, so you can get an idea of what to expect. Now, these things fly a little different. It's a lot more yaw than I'm used to. I'm used to flying with a lot of camera angle. So these things take me a while to kind of adjust to. Usually my first flight results in a crash. I'm happy to report that the Betafpv case and the naked GoPro and the quad as a whole stood up to my crash, because unfortunately I do crash because I tend to stink when I start flying something that's so outside of my wheelhouse. I tend to want to fly much more faster, much more camera angle. But this flight is challenging, and I've said it in other videos that I have a deep amount of respect for people that can take on this sort of flying and really execute it. But I thought this setup executed it pretty well, and I thought the footage for a Hero 6, of course a Hero 8 would be a little bit better, but I thought this was very good as well, very stable. This is our sample footage, what you see in the goggles as we take off, so you get to see all the information that's on the OSD. I think most people are probably looking at the battery information and maybe the throttle position. Throttle position is in the top left, where you can see what throttle position I'm flying at, and then you have the battery information that's down below. I'm not sure how calibrated that is. I don't typically check this stuff. as far as the amp draw and the milliamp. I suspect the milliamp is way off. You can enter that stuff and calibrate that stuff in Betaflight. Typically what I do is I show them how they come to me, and I put in my own rates. I move the OSD stuff around where I like to put it, and then I show you the quad without doing any additional work. So your results may vary to a degree on what you see on the OSD elements in those calibrations or calculations that have been set up. I wasn't overly impressed with the VTX. I am flying it at the maximum of 350 milliamp on it. I think the antenna position kind of hurts the power that we're running at. So that's something to consider if you get one. If you're looking for the maximum clarity in the goggles and you're maybe in a difficult environment, that moving the antenna is probably going to be something you're going to want to pursue. I would suggest putting it much more upright. I think that will work out better for the best possible reception. It is nice that the VTX is kind of flat on the top, so if you're not someone who likes to use your radio and the OSD and smart audio to manipulate the VTX channels, you can do that with the button. That is documented on their website on how that operates. Also note, you do get two mounts. You get both mounts. You get the GoPro mount, or the naked GoPro mount, as well as the Insta360 Go, and they have camera angles that are listed on the website as well. So if you're wanting to do something more or less than that, you may have to look for purchasing your own mount. Getting the GoPro mount on was a little bit of a challenge. We can talk about that when we wrap up here a little bit at the desk. It's not terrible by any stretch, but they've got that screw through there, which is a good thing because that'll keep it from in a crash dislodging and losing the gummies and stuff. But you've got to take that screw at least down so you can manipulate that top carbon piece, so you can screw up from the bottom of the carbon piece into that TPU mount for the GoPro. It's a little bit of a tedious task, but once it's done, it's done. Also, the view is a little bit peculiar, could be different for you. Something that I noticed right away was that you do see quite a bit of the, you see a fair bit of that whoop, that prop guardness in the lower left and lower right of the screen. It is something that I found I needed to adjust to. I was distracted by it at first, but after I flew it a few times, I got past that. This has been around a while, so if you have one, I would sure appreciate it if you would leave your experience with this quad down in the comment section below. If you have some cool footage, maybe you live in a place that has some nice architecture or statues or a bridge or scenic view of some sort, and you want to share that down below, you can go ahead and link that down in the comment section. I'm sure other people would like to see some of the very interesting places across the world where these things may have been flown, but please limit it to this particular product so we can keep it on topic. So when you get this cable does come pre-wired, so you don't have to fuss with that. But it is a little bit of a pain to reach your USB port. I can't even hardly show it because you have to manipulate the receiver and the wires around to get to the USB port. You can reach the button for binding on the FrSky XM Plus. I think I had to push it down from the front so I could see the button in the back. Also, this strap does not come oriented this way. I chose to toilet tank this because I didn't want it jamming. I didn't want battery force possibly coming into my camera. You know, this camera was, you know, $280+ I didn't want to have a crash, which I figured would happen because I crash quite a bit, and I didn't want the battery hitting the back of the camera. I'm not very experienced with naked GoPros, so this says right here on the mount that this is a 15-degree mount, so you want to kind of match your FPV camera to that, or maybe just a little bit off depending upon what you want your picture to be centered on. I mentioned it was a little bit tedious getting that mounted. These gummies, I think, did a fair job of stabilizing the footage. Like I said, I didn't use RealSteady or any sort of post-video editing to show you that is actually right from the camera and then just thrown into my video editing. No stabilization there whatsoever. And I suspected I would see quite a bit of vibration, but you tell me about the footage, how it looked to you. But back to mounting this. So you take this nut off that's here at the back, and then you can push this screw down, and you'll see the screw lines up with this area, so the screw won't fall out. So that shouldn't be of concern. But then you just kind of pry this back and off, and this gummy comes off. You pop that gummy off the top piece, and then you can screw up from the bottom of the carbon into the TPU mount. That's how I mounted mine. You can actually see, if you're real eagle-eyed, some of the screw point sticking out there through the top. And then when you reassemble it, you've got to kind of angle your tool up through the bottom in order to get it inserted into the screw, and then you just kind of finger things down as far as getting the nut on there. Oh, I should step back. Getting the gummy in was a challenge. What I did is I found a really small gauge wire. I put it down through the hole in the carbon plate and then looped it around the gummy. There's that groove in it, and then I had that through that hole so I could just kind of pull and work it up through the hole. That seemed to work fairly well. Thread for needle and thread sort of stuff. Cross stitchers out there probably have that, or dental floss. You could use that as well. Just any sort of really small wire or string-like object that you can get down through there and wrap it around the gummy and then kind of finesse it back up through the hole, because that is a bit fussy. I mentioned it, the quick specs, we have this mount down here, so if you wanted to and you had 2 naked GoPros, I suppose, even though the kit doesn't come with 2 mounts, you could use another traditional mount for an Insta360 Go down here, so you could maybe do some creative video editing where you have a front view and then you pass through something, maybe a gap, or maybe you pass by something or someone, and then you have a rear view of what you just passed by and do some cuts. There's a lot of creativity that can be executed there. It's just something I thought I should mention because it doesn't sit flat. I do appreciate the fact that they've got something down here to help protect the electronics from any sort of dew or moisture that might be on the ground surface that we're taking off from, because this is a pusher, you know, it is pushing that air. So if you set this down in an area that might have some moisture in it and then you arm and the props spin up, there's a possibility that some could come up even through this hole and short out one of our components, which would bring sadness, of course. When you fly these things, don't expect them to fly out like a normal quad. They're not agile, they're not made for that. If you try to run them that way, they'll run okay in a straight line, but when it comes to banking and yanking and flips and rolls and things of that nature, that's just not their forte. You're going to have various sorts of flight anomalies when you try to do those sorts of quick maneuvers, more aggressive maneuvers. These are made to go slow, and they're made to get some sort of footage that you're looking for of the environment that you're in, that you'd like to have some HD footage of, and you want a safe, or at very least prop protected quad, and this would be a fairly good candidate, I think, to look at. As I look on the Betafpv website, I see that this comes in, and it does come with those accessories. It does not come with the camera. Again, I got my camera from goodventuredrones.com. That's where you can find yours. And thank you for the hat, a very sharp hat. Let me grab that real quick. When I placed my order from goodventuredrones.com, they included a free hat. And I really like this hat. It's become one of my favorites real quick. I think especially in the heat of the summer with this mesh netting, I would probably wear that hat. And I also noted that this is not, that's a brand I think I recall seeing when I used to shop at stores, in the stores. So I think it's a high quality hat. And because I'm kind of a hat nerd, new era, I appreciate that sort of stuff, and I think it's a quality hat if you're looking for some drone swag. But this one comes in about $179.99. It varies depending upon the receiver that you select. I'll have links down in the video description to Betafpv's website. Banggood is also selling, and that's probably where I would suggest purchasing from. My understanding is the Betafpv shipping can be kind of tedious from time to time, so Banggood, while it might not be fast, you have at least the option of selecting for $1 or $2 more, a little bit of an expedited shipping. I tend to get tracking with Banggood shipping as well, so I think overall the shipping cost would be lower and likely to get to you faster, which whenever you order something, getting it is always your next priority. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know in the section down below. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.